It's back and bigger than ever. It's the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
And it is week 2 as we are back and at it. It's the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com where we welcome in the entire crew. Josh, Eddie, Bob, and myself here for another one after the Sooners get the opener out of the way against Houston when it 48-31, 49-31. Was that
can't kick a field goal. You know that.
What was the final?
49-31.
49. You can't kick field goals now.
Yeah, that was a bad prediction, 45-24. But first off, I think we have to welcome in the semi-hairless Josh McQuistion, who has already paid off. He didn't allow us to have any fun with this.
He really didn't.
He was like, screw you guys, I'm cutting my hair, and you're not going to get to be a part of this.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how you plan to be a part of that, as there is the whole 8-hour drive between us.
I thought you were coming to L.A. Is this your way of saying no?
I am not going to be in L.A. I really wish that was possible. I will be in Atlanta. So that
we
that
had a
makes
bye
tricky.
week coming right after it. Could have made the drive.
Bob,
I wouldn't go either,
man,
Josh. I wouldn't want to be out there with those left-wing liberals either.
And can you imagine that sun on this head now? I mean,
That's
it's
true.
bad. It's bad.
True.
So the ozone is dying in California. I mean, it's just bad all the way around.
I will say this for a couple of people on Twitter that were like, oh, that's not enough. Josh has a gigantic head, and I cannot imagine how bad it looks.
It's awful.
With
it's
a buzz
really
cut.
bad.
Like, is your marriage going to survive?
Are you going to wear a hat the whole time?
I didn't today. I took the girls to school, no hat. I mean, I'm not going to be afraid of it. Now, what's shocking to me is no one's asked me about it yet. For anyone
why?
that thinks that's not a thing, they're looking at it. They're just not asking the question yet because there's no way you don't know.
What they're doing is they're reporting you to the police, and they're like, we may have a mass shooter on our hands. Please keep an eye on him.
It's possible that there is some concern over neo-Nazism, like with the shaved head.
I mean,
it's not good.
Even with hair, you'd fit the demographic white male.
Yes, exactly.
Probably not a great time to be joking about shootings right now.
You're the one that brought it up, Carey.
I know. As usual, I'm regretting the subjects I bring up on the pod.
Here's a good segue. What you should do this afternoon, if you haven't eaten lunch, is go to Subway and see if you can get a free sub out of it. Maybe they'll think you have cancer.
Subway? Do they have a policy now where they give you a free sub if you have cancer?
No, but I know somebody that used to do that.
I want to thank Eddie for bringing, we were on a very serious topic about school shootings, and Eddie brought levity with cancer.
Yeah.
I didn't say I don't think we specified the type of shooting. It was just a general mass shooting, I think is what Carey said.
Sure.
You're the one that brought up school shooting.
So you feel that
You're the one who made it dark.
Yes, Pulse was very different. You're right. That's my mistake.
I think Josh would also like to take this moment to tell people to suck it. While he was wrong about A.D. Miller and Trajan Bridges, although you didn't even fight the fact that they both were on the field at the same time to start the game.
My comment was about Theo. I think everybody
It was about Theo.
It was about Theo.
Yes, it was about Theo.
And so that's where it went wrong. And I'm doing the idiot as we speak, and was doing it before the pod started, and I looked at that play. I want to be honest. I'm a little concerned about some collusion, maybe with some members of the podcast. I don't know. But I feel like A.D. Miller got on the field, made his one catch, and we never saw him again. It feels like there was a swift hand of justice involved here, and I'm a little concerned about it.
You think like the coaching staff did this to you?
Yes, I think there was someone from on high that was like, this asshole needs to be put in place.
Well, it would have to be Dennis Simmons. Dennis Simmons hates you, I guess.
I guess that's where that. Well, I mean, like we all, Carey, you have your staff friendship, so clearly now I have mine. Dennis Simmons and I have beef, and I didn't know it.
I like it. The other thing that needs to be pointed out is, look, this is kind of how it goes. We got personally attacked on the message boards over our calling the depth chart bullshit. And lo and behold, who started at left tackle Sunday? R.J. Proctor, not Eric Swinson. Was R.J. Proctor listed at all as a left tackle on the depth chart? No. So he wasn't even announced for the pregame with the video board. Nobody believes those either, though. I mean, those are.
Yeah, but it's the same.
I think I've even told Joe Castiglione one time. I've complained to him before.
Well, yeah, they're bad
about how when people are out and they're announced as starters. Like how bad that looks.
It happened last year, I think, with Kenneth Mann. He was like in sweatpants and he's announced as a starter.
Yeah, and I'm like, Joe, I understand that there's a need for secrecy, but it looks really bad when you guys can't even announce the starting lineup right, and there's one of the guys is not even suited out. Like it just looks bad. And he agreed, like they have to figure a way to fix that.
What difference is it going to make 15 minutes before kickoff? Like Houston's going to reinvent the wheel because R.J. Proctor's your starting left tackle is announced.
I don't even think they notice. I mean, I think that's just a Sooner Sports thing that they've taped from long ago. They don't even know who's starting. They just like, all right.
But you would think
here's the roster.
The day before you could give someone the roster, like to say these are. I mean,
I don't know. I stick with the
like when someone.
I'm going to stick with the team on this one. I don't think it matters.
When someone's injured, it matters to their parents. They'd like to see their kid. Maybe that will be the only game they start. That year. To see him introduced as a starter, that's a big deal to them. I mean, you say that you care about the kids and their families and, recruiting and all that stuff. Like, to me, that's just one of those little things that shouldn't matter.
I don't know. I guess I just never even pay attention to that.
If you're down on the field, there's no way you would.
Because we're eye level with it in the press box.
Yes.
No, I mean, I see the screen. I just kind of tune it out, I think.
Right.
I don't even think it's so much that. It's just you can't do things like that and then get upset when people don't trust your releases, don't trust the things you say.
Well, that makes sense.
You're clearly willing to lie. Well, so why should we trust you about
anything?
X? Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't. It's
Listen,
not a big hill I want to die on.
Yeah, it's not a big hill. It's just dumb.
I think all we said about the depth chart was put very little stock into it.
Well,
I didn't even say anything on the board either. I said that it was just ridiculous that people. I said that my favorite cycle of the release of the depth chart is you bitch and moan about it, and you being anybody collectively, and then when it does come out, you shit on it.
On it.
No, that's my favorite cycle of the preseason.
But people say, well, we want you to give us the inside info, and then when we tell you that, oh no, we don't think this is right, that we're hearing R.J. Proctor will start at left tackle. And then they're like, oh, Murdoch has stupid hot takes all the time. Like, no, I told you what you want. It's like
half that's right.
No, I tell you what you want, and then, you bitch about it. I don't tell you something, and then you bitch about it. I'm not telling you anything anymore. This info highway is shut down.
That should be great for the site.
Thanks.
That's our new motto. Screw you if you want information. You're just going to bitch about it anyway.
Well, I really liked the motto that you came up with last week. We said terrible things. We said regrettable things.
I say a lot of regrettable things, and I'm trying to get better at that. Although
I think it's a great tag for the pod.
The person that I kind of attacked pretty much justified all the things that were said. After the game, there was reports of a certain someone milling around on the field.
Oh, the Tony lady?
Mm-hmm.
She's a crazy bitch, man. Crazy.
I'll just abstain. I'll let you handle that this week.
I mean,
I'm just glad I haven't had to deal with it in my mentions.
I'm saying what everybody else says behind her back, so that's fine.
She was at the game?
Oh, yeah. She came all the way to the game, and she was like milling around the locker rooms and stuff, and
not like the locker room, but
she was on
the
field while people were doing their stand-ups.
That's what I was told by some TV friends. Like, I'm starting to become worried for Jalen Hurts' safety.
She was just soaking up the majesty of the night, a big historic win against Houston.
Well, it was historic. What did you? I guess we should start with Josh and what he thought about the game because he wasn't on the postgame podcast.
Yeah.
We were going to give you a call, but it was like 1:45 in the morning.
Yeah,
we figured that
you
you wouldn't want to do that.
You were okay with missing.
Guys, I will almost always go with you. That one, I was like, "Yep, I'm not upset. I wasn't part of that one."
On a Monday morning.
That was like the West Virginia one last year. I was like, "Nope, I'm good. I don't have to be in on that."
Oh, that was not a fun trip on the way back. Anyway,
that seemed awful. No, as far as the game, the thing I came away with, and Eddie, I saw you tweeted out some stats from. I would like to give the Twitter account. It's like Sports Analytics or something like that.
Yeah. From this afternoon or this morning.
Yeah. And I thought I was kind of surprised that there was such unanimous. Oh, Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma. It's just a match made in heaven. It's perfect. I'm like, and I said it in the report card after the game. He didn't do a lot. There wasn't a lot asked of him. Like, I don't mean like he wasn't good. He was very good at the things they were having him do. There just wasn't a lot of variety to it. It was very like, this works. We're going to keep doing this, and that's fine. I get it. No, there's no reason to open up more of the playbook if you don't have to. But I wasn't drawing like a full conclusion. Like, I saw stuff now. He's like in the first round in a couple of mock drafts. I'm like, let's slow down a little bit. Like that just seems a little extreme. Now, on the flip side of the coin, I was really surprised how negative some of the reviews of the defense came out. I thought for almost 3 quarters they played really good football. I mean, not like Alabama or Clemson, but far better than what we've become accustomed to seeing. And that's a group learning a new defense, doing it for the first time against a different, somebody in a different uniform. There was a lot I came away with feeling really positive about. I thought Kenneth Murray looked like a star. Ronnie Perkins may actually be the guy I think he is. And Neville Gallimore looked better than maybe any point in his career. So I don't really understand the negativity. Don't get me wrong. That defense has problems. There's things they're going to have to work through all year. But I saw more positives from a first game than I can think of really at any point last season, maybe since the Ohio State game in Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the biggest noticeable difference is just as a defense was pursuit to the football. I mean, that was the biggest. Like, when you're up in the press box and you see the whole field, you see areas when they open up. Like, you see when there's a giant hole and if guys are being blocked, and if a ball carrier just gets past this one guy, he looks like he's going to go the whole. But there were times when it looked like the ball carrier had wide open spaces, and that wide open space just closed quickly, not just because of one person, but because of 3 or 4 people. And that was, to me, when it was going well, other than, getting a lot of pressure and tackles for loss and, getting pressure up front, but that was the biggest difference to me, is that guys closed, guys ran to the football, and at times we saw flashes of dominance from that defense, especially Kenneth Murray.
And he set the tone right out the gate with that first drive, with the clothesline, and that's just something we didn't see last year from him or from anyone on the defense, being able to attack in that way and let people know this is going to be different. And again, what we look at is 220 yards and 17 points through 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter was a mess that Alex Grinch fully admitted was his fault for the way that he tried to coach it, whether it was not focusing enough on the run because Houston kept running, whether it was because he kept using a lot of young kids. He said he used 26 defensive players, which is something we just don't see a lot, which we haven't seen last couple of years. But if you do that, you're going to take some lumps, and that's what happened during the fourth quarter.
What did you guys think about that comment by Grinch? Obviously, you were there. You heard the whole thing live. I thought that was – I mean, I understand what he's saying. I thought they were going to go through the air, and I kind of was living on that. But at the same time, he's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, because if he does, okay, we're going to adjust. We're going to start doing run fits. We're going to get more serious about stopping, this run game for Houston. Well, then you're going man outside, and then you really can get hit over the top. It seemed like Houston kind of did Oklahoma a favor. Okay, we're going to run the ball. We're going to eat up all this clock. Well, that's cool. You're moving the ball, but you're also not going to be – there's not going to be enough time for you to play this game and win this game.
I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of De'Aaron King in terms of throwing the ball down the field. I don't know how talented he is at that, but Dana Holgerson's not a dummy. I mean, he knows what his players can and can't do. I just kind of think that they have some good receivers, but I don't know that he feels like De'Aaron King is the guy to just drop back and throw. I mean, he's had Will Grier. He's had Geno Smith. I mean,
sure.
De'Aaron King is not he's not that type of a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. And I will say, I think the Stevenson kid, other than probably Tylan Wallace and, if OU gets the playoff, that's the best receiver they'll see all year. I thought he was really good.
And that was the first guy that Kenneth Murray manhandled.
Yeah. That play, and I know it got some run on Twitter about, De'Aaron King not realizing how fast Kenneth Murray was and that sort of thing. De'Aaron King is a guy I covered in high school. That dude can really, really run, and the way Murray tracked him down was
ridiculous.
I knew what a good athlete he was, but that surprised even me.
That was probably the most surprising part of that game, wasn't it? Just the not, and I don't want to say emergence of Kenneth Murray, but that guy looked like the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he did.
He looked. You put that on film 11 more times in the regular season. He's going to be a Butkus finalist.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's going to be in Florida. Yeah,
well,
exactly
and I will say this. For everything that they tried to do with Kenneth Murray, as we talked about in the preseason and why we were so hesitant about him being the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year at the end of the year, is because he's a guy that has looked lost at times. Even though it's obvious he has a tremendous amount of ability, it's clear that Brian Odom has found some buttons to push with Kenneth Murray, and he talked a little bit about that this week.
It's just about the connection that we have, to be honest. That guy, he truly is the best. He truly cares for you on and off the field. And as far as just the preparation that me and him go throughout the week, it's a lot. But it's what's required to be the best. And I think when you got a coach who has that same mentality of trying to be the best, going out there, trying to play with a chip on your shoulder, trying to coach with a chip on your shoulder, then, you get results. And so Coach Odom has done a phenomenal job preparing me, getting me ready, and, just letting me know that, I've earned my right to be confident. I earned my right to be, what I am because I went out there and prepared for it. So got to go out there and just prove it on Sunday.
And see, to me, this is just internally the biggest change with Kenneth Murray is, I don't know how you guys felt about like Kenneth Murray last year, when he was at Big 12 Media Days and he was on the podium. And I don't mean this in a negative way. It's more to explain my point. He always seemed like, and it was everybody on defense. It wasn't just him, but like he was a fake captain. Does that make sense when I just say it that way?
I was going to try and translate what he just said as far as it almost seems like, yeah, Kish told me I was really good, and I kind of believed I was good, but now I really believe that I'm good because somebody like Brian Odom's telling me. Kind of like that.
And the reason I say he was a fake captain is because he wasn't out there leading that defense with his performance. Yeah. He was just saying, okay, I'm trying to lead this group of ragtag players that we know we're not really that good yet, but we're trying to be good. We don't know how to be good. We're just kind of trying not to get yelled at every day, and
trying to do not the bare minimum.
We're trying to learn how to play 50 different defenses, and who knows what and that's one thing that Alex Grinch said this week, which was kind of interesting. And you kind of take everything that's said as a shot at the former defense. It's just kind of natural, but he basically said, look, we have a defense that we've been working on for 7 months now. And now that game week is here, it's still the same defense. We're not going to give them a new defense on Tuesday of game week. And he said, I've been places before, I assume he was talking about Ohio State, where that happened. Maybe that was like how Greg Schiano did it.
It's more of a professional mindset almost?
He would come up with, okay, this is the team we're playing, so this is how we're going to have to play them on defense. But, he explained it as, we're not changing anything. We'll have some wrinkles here and there, but these guys know our defense now. They've spent 7 months figuring it out.
Sure.
And I just think that is, there's so many really interesting things about the way that they talk about the defense and how they're trying to build consistency.
It's just almost other than saying it's night and day difference. Like I can't explain it anymore about how I don't know. And it's easy to say it when everything's new and everybody's still, in that learning stage or infancy stage of getting used to the Alex Grinch's system and the coaches and everything that goes into it. And they haven't failed yet, obviously, but it's just like, oh my God. I mean, how incompetent was this ship the last couple seasons? And not incompetent, but just like what the f***? What was going on?
Josh, I'll let you take that one.
Carey, you don't want to touch that topic?
No, I'm just trying to hit the mark button where the F-bomb was.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, I mean, when you talk about Kenneth Murray, you talk about Neville Gallimore, it just looked like guys that had been, I don't know of a better way to say it than just kind of cut loose. Like, we're just gonna do what we're gonna chase the ball. We're gonna be active. Like, we're gonna be aggressive. It didn't look like, oh man, this is some new thing that we've never seen before. It just looked like a bunch of guys that weren't thinking as much.
Well,
How many
times can you be told, okay, do this, and then it doesn't work, and then they come back to you and say, okay, do this, and it doesn't work, before you're kind of like, I'm tired of listening to you. I'm tired of listening to you. Tell me what to do, because I don't think it's going to work, because nothing else has worked.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one of those things where, you hear coaches all the time, well, you got to trust the guy next to you is going to do what he's supposed to do. Well, if what I'm doing, and I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's not working, well, then why do I trust the guy to my left or right that it's going to work for him too? So you just end up in this whole question of, well, I've just got to go out there and, solve everybody's problems. And you've got guys trying to do too much.
And I think that's where Kenneth Murray was. God, we need Kenneth Mann to get healthy, so I'll stop thinking about him so much. But I think that's where Kenneth Murray was. He was like not only trying to cover up for himself, but trying to cover up for everybody else. And now the big change that I've seen, the point I was trying to make is, like, Kenneth Murray actually is sitting there talking about, this is what I want for myself. Like, I want to be dominant. I want to win a Butkus. I want people to turn on the tape and say, holy shit, look at this guy.
It's almost like he was told it's okay to be a little selfish at the same time as, like, I think part of it, you can be a little selfish and still be for the team, if that makes sense.
Well, here's Alex Grinch kind of talking along those lines. I don't want you to think I'm putting anything that happened in the past on you, but like Kenneth Murray he was forced into a leadership position early in his career, and he always seemed to embrace the team part of it. But we talk to him now, he mentions personal goals like he never has before, that he wants to be known, I think he said, when you turn on the tape, I want you to say, oh crap, when you see him. He wants to be considered a Butkus, candidate. Do you like that he is setting goals that are as high as you can get, that he's chasing those kind of things?
I do, and I think you earn the right to set those goals. Again, it's one thing to say, it's another thing to obviously put the work in so that you can achieve them, and ultimately put the film together on Saturdays to do it. But again, I think he's earned that right. I think he works his tail off around this building. He's since the minute we stepped on campus, with him and Coach Odom, again, you got to give Coach Odom tons of credit for the work that he's done with him in the meeting room. Again, we call it simple 7 months later. We don't call it simple day one, and so he has embraced the coaching. Again, he has a unique skill set, so I give him ample amounts of credit, for the skill set that he possesses. And then I think the want-to element of things. I think, it's time. It's time for him to be that guy. It's time for him to be that guy. And we're dying as a defense to have more guys like that. And so if we don't have two, we'll take one. And I certainly think we have more than one, but that number's got to obviously continue to increase.
And I'm dating myself. I'm not being an old Eddie. But it's like they're Stuart Smalling.
I'll clarify this.
They're Stuart Smalling him. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And doggone it, people like me.
Should I know who that is?
Saturday Night Live.
You don't know any pop culture, so no.
Well, that's early 90s pop culture.
Oh, I was less than 8 years old.
The one that made famous was Michael Jordan, kind of laughing his way through it all.
Of course, you think that's what made it famous, Bob, of course.
It is.
Yeah, I don't remember Michael Jordan ever being on Stuart Smalley.
I do. He's laughing the entire time he had to do it.
Yeah, he couldn't keep a straight face looking in the mirror.
Oh, I know who that is.
But it is like
recognize him.
it's like self-help. I mean, for Kenneth Murray, it's like, okay, you are good enough. You can be our star. Basically, they know, like, that's the thing about this defense. Like, we've been saying this forever. Like, when's the last time you saw a dominant player on the defensive side of the ball? Like, Baker Mayfield became the face of Oklahoma football, the face of the offense, all that stuff. They need someone on defense to be that guy. And damn, Kenneth Murray looks like a potential superstar that you can finally point to and say, okay, they finally got one of those guys on defense.
It wasn't about the way that he played either. In a way that, for me, I thought it was just, and I guess it was the way he played, but like he was violent. It seemed like he was everywhere. It's like exactly what you want a middle linebacker to be. I don't know. I was so impressed with how he played, and I almost wonder, like, and I forgot to ask him. I'll have to ask him next week because I'm sure we'll talk to him again. But I wonder how much it helps not having that cowboy collar on, because he talked about like his vision and being able to see better a little through the preseason. And obviously, I mean, it's not all of it, but it certainly maybe plays a small part.
Maybe he can get a special spatting color for his shoes.
You don't bring that up.
Eddie's latest
He's not
video.
part of the team.
Eddie's latest video.
I mean, if you have a problem with that, you need to stop attending games. You need to stop living in our society.
See, like it's funny that you exaggerate it so, but this is part of the problem of.
Oh, it's a very small minority.
Yeah, it's a part of the problem of Twitter and the internet. It just.
Well, you always got to remind yourself there's only 15% of the world is on Twitter.
But yeah, and I mean, it's just like
very small, very minute amount of people.
The majority of people on there are so extreme in their opinions, or they're.
I think this was on Instagram.
Just, I mean, it's because you got guys with 15 followers that want some attention.
Yeah,
and they just say the craziest shit.
I think this person though was pretty sane.
I do think there are people that are triggered because Jalen Hurts had bright red spatting on his shoes, and that isn't part of the uniform. But you know what? Die. Just die.
Wow.
You said Eddie was extreme.
I know.
I mean, if you're really upset about that, you shouldn't be on this earth anymore because you're going to have a really hard time. You're better off being dead.
Well, and I can't remember if Eddie said it or if it was somebody that replied to Eddie's thing. These are the same people that thought Joe Washington was the greatest guy that ever lived.
Yeah, because the silver shoes.
With silver damn shoes.
And celebrate him to this day.
Exactly. Like, you can't have it. It's just, I hate to steal it. You're old and you don't like things that change. That's understandable. I'm sure I'll get there someday too. But, like, accept that they do. It's okay. Jalen Hurts wearing a bunch of spat on his shoes doesn't matter. It's not a big deal.
Just a strange thing to be. Like,
I'll be honest, I saw it and I thought, man, that's cool. Like, I thought it was really cool.
I thought it looked awesome. Yeah, I'm with you. I thought it was really cool.
I did. I thought it was cool.
I'm not much of a fan of it, but that's neither here nor there. If he had,
you just draped yourself in it all day.
If it would have been white, I think it would have been okay with it.
Maybe cream colored.
Just the color red. I'm not that big of a fan of. Just a personal opinion.
That's
kind of cardinal red.
Houston. I guess it's just. I guess it's because I just grew up, an OU fan and stuff. But like Houston's red, that's an effeminate red to me. Like, it's too bright.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like a bright red.
Nebraska's really towing the line.
That's
They're
in that classic same look, though. It's
range,
like that's
kinda.
Nebraska.
Yeah,
it doesn't. But
like Nebraska when they wore
emotion.
When they wore the red pants in the '90s, I did not like it.
Oh, I kind of like the red pants and the white jersey. What do they wear now?
Well, no, when they wore they started wearing red pants and red tops. I didn't like that.
No, red on red.
Yeah, no, but the red pants and the white tops, that was a good classic
People
look.
have always wanted OU to go like the what's it called? Wood grain with like the red on red, basically.
Red on red.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
That might be the worst look Oklahoma's ever put on the field.
I don't want to see
hate
that.
it. And I might be an olds for saying that, but it is so bad. Like the white on white, I think everybody agrees the white on white's the best uniform OU has.
Yeah, I think that's universal. That always has been. And like Texas fans love their white on white.
White on white's just a really good looking uniform for anybody. I don't know anybody that. Well, South Florida is pretty disgusting. They're white on white. I don't know if I
I'm
like.
not sure I know that one.
It's just with
it's
it kind of has like green down the sides and then the
helmet's
the
not
gold
good.
helmet.
Yeah,
Like,
you
there's
got to
only-
have a clean helmet if you're white on
The
white.
Notre Dame uniform that they wore on Monday night in Louisville, the white with the
Yeah,
gold pants.
I respect that
That's-
uniform.
I mean, that's just a traditional. That's a badass look.
See, now I
State's-
think you've got.
That's
I like-
the Catholic in you, probably.
Probably. And I told the priest one time that I would promise to always like the Notre Dame uniform.
Oh God, I'm glad that's what you told the priest.
You've got to
that's
have
it.
distinct
Was it- it
colors
was
if
an
you're going to do the
exchange.
non-white.
What?
Oh my lord! I said you've
That's
got
a
to have a
joke, by the
distinct
way,
color
Oklahoma City
if it's the
Archdiocese.
non-white.
Yeah.
Because like UCLA, the powder blue, it's awesome. That's
No,
a great
that's
look.
no,
It's
that's
a cool
that's
look.
sure.
LSU's, I mean, their uniforms. I've always loved their
LSU's
uniforms.
is good.
Yep. Like Michigan, like I don't love
Yeah.
their white. I love their blue with the helmet.
The helmet, yeah.
That works. Yeah. But yeah, generally I'm with you. Generally the white uniforms. I never really thought about it, but yeah, that generally is a little cleaner.
And you know
look.
whose uniforms I've always had an appreciation for? One, Kansas State.
Not bad.
And the other, Iowa, just because basically Bill Snyder stole the K-State uniforms from Iowa and just made
I
them
guess I've
silver
never really
and purple.
thought about that.
Well, yeah, the Hawkeye he redid in the Wildcat. Mm-hmm. He had someone draw it up using the Hawkeye as the basis.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I
how
can see it now
old
that
Bill
you've said
Snyder
it.
was. He created Kansas State University's logo.
Yeah, he did. When he got there, he wanted to reimagine their uniforms.
The other side of that
Unbelievable.
is
That's how detailed he was. He put his hand in every single thing.
You know that
Bill
around the
Snyder was
university.
so old he wanted to emulate Iowa football.
Well, I mean, you got to realize that was in the
That's a
80s
good-
when
No,
he took
no.
that's
over.
a good line, Josh.
I mean, I get it. Like they were great then, but like you can't imagine going to a kid now and be like, listen, our uniforms next year are going to be unbelievable. We're going off Iowa. Really? Like that's going to set somebody's hair on fire.
You think the clock's ticking?
He's going to die.
Oh yeah. Old
I
coach
think
like
everybody,
that, as soon as they retire,
that's
it's
why
ticking.
he's kept the job as long as he had because I
Just
think
keep him going.
people know that's what's kept him going.
Well, that'd be a sad day. As
That'll
much
be
as much
terrible.
hell as I give him,
It'll be terrible.
it'll be a sad day.
Yeah, you don't have to give him hell anymore. He's done. Just leave the man in peace.
He has.
Could be worse.
Now I
He
don't
could
even
be
know
Ron
if Kansas State
Prince.
has a program.
They do.
I know they do, but it's just like, I don't know. I think they're at a little bit of a crossroads. I do like that coach that they have up there climbing.
Yeah.
I think he'll do a good job.
I
there.
want to see.
It's a
I mean, I'm not-
perfect fit, isn't it, Josh?
I really think it is because he's the same model as Snyder.
Sure.
Like I'm not going to bother to recruit the guys that I'll never get. I know the kind of guys I can get. I know what fits my program. I'm going to get those guys. Look what they were doing where he was. Well, it had far less resources than he has now.
All right, guys, want to welcome back SeatGeek is one of our main sponsors this year for the Unofficial 40. For you guys that haven't used it, SeatGeek has been with Rivals.com for a very long time. They do a great job with Rivals and with people looking for tickets and just looking at the South Dakota game. I mean, like we talk about, it's on pay-per-view. I know it's an issue with some people, but guess what? You can go on SeatGeek right now and get a couple of tickets and still pay less than you would for the pay-per-view game. There's $24 seats. I even found a seat in the lower bowl, section 35, row 44, $27. It's rated at a 9.6, amazing deal. You can get all this stuff too. You just need to go to the SeatGeek, go to SeatGeek.com or go to the Apple iTunes store or the Google Play Store and look up SeatGeek and get the app on your phone. It's a really cool app. I know, Eddie, you used it.
Just used it a couple
for
weeks
the Cubs
ago.
game.
Yeah, just used it a couple weeks ago. It's incredibly easy, and I was kind of worried that how to get the tickets, how to actually get them in my hand, and if they were going to be cool. You don't want to go up to the ticket booth.
Right on your phone.
Right on my phone.
Barcode right there. Boom.
Right there. Didn't have to worry about anything. Had great seats as well. And, I mean, even though the Cubs got
did
their
have good
ass
seats.
kicked, they were great seats, and it was a lot of
11-1,
fun.
was that what the score was?
Something like that.
Did you
But
get to
it was a
see
good
any
time.
cup snakes while you were there?
No, I think that was during the height of the cup snake, anti-cup snake, but hopefully I don't know.
Andy
It was a Friday afternoon.
The Andy Friends have really been after the Cup snakes this year, haven't they?
I know. It's not good.
Have you ever gotten in a fight with an Andy Friend in a Cup?
I don't think so. I've only sat in the bleachers a couple times, but it was an incredibly easy process, and the family had a good time at the Fredland Confines. So it's as easy as you think it is.
Did you use the code SCOOP and get $20 off?
I did. It was incredibly impressive.
You bastard. So I'm sure SeatGeek will be happy to know that they pay us to
I'm just a
advertise
normal
that we
person.
still use of their code. So, yeah, you can save $20 off your first SeatGeek order, too. Just use the promotional code SCOOP. Put that in at the checkout, and you get $20 off your first code. So thanks to SeatGeek. Check it out, folks. Also, a link on our website. Go to the Crimson Corner right there at the top. Click on SeatGeek and get your tickets. Okay, I want to let's jump back into the offensive side of the ball. I think, talking about Kenneth Murray and the defense, regardless of what's going to happen this weekend, we got to talk more about that in the level of competition. But coming out of the Houston game, I think a lot of people's questions are, okay, how is the health of Oklahoma after all this?
Yeah, injury front, we did well. Nothing, some normal bumps and bruises, but nothing with anybody out for an extended time. So that part was positive. Dylan Falmatau, we expect to have him back this week. He was really close. Probably could have played him the other night, but separated some there early, and so we didn't feel the need. Kenneth Mann also very close. Wasn't an option to play the other night, but is it's not weeks away now. It's a matter of days. So hoping to get him back here as soon as we can, but we're getting pretty close with him. So he's made good progress. Second part of that, the personnel. We moved Jaquaylin Crawford to corner, which I think was already out there. I think we already had him listed that way. Not really anything else personnel-wise. We played a lot of guys. The other night we played, just the 6 offensive linemen, but obviously played a ton of different skill guys offensively. I think we played 26 players defensively. So we got to look at a lot of guys, and I'm not saying rotations won't continue to evolve. They certainly will, based on performance as we go on. But we are going to continue to look at guys and continue to play a bunch, especially with the number of young/new players that we're playing with right now. We got to continue to develop those guys and evolve and continue to find our best group that we can put out there.
And there was one guy that Lincoln circled back on. He left out on the injury report.
Yep, TJ Pledger did. I'm sorry, I forgot about that one. TJ Pledger had an injury, happened in practice last week, had a hand injury, did have to have a minor surgery. We do expect him back this season.
Oh, by the way, God, so secretive.
I think he really just
No,
forgot.
I think he did, but it's just like if nobody would have asked about it, he would have let it go.
That was my question, but by the time I got called that over to being asked, so I asked something different. That was my first question.
The rule we pushed for got us in the end.
But the most important thing was that he will be back this season.
Right.
Yes, it was.
So it's not a season-ending injury. And,
Because you couldn't tell by the Instagram post.
No. I mean, it looked terrible. I mean,
I thought he broke his arm. I mean, when
I
you
did
just
too.
initially look at it,
Yeah.
he must have got his hand caught in a face mask or something.
Yeah.
Got smashed, or I have no idea. It's just complete
and
guess
he
on my
wouldn't
part.
take the pineapple after practice, and Tiffany Bird stuck his hand in a
got
blender.
him.
You will eat this pineapple and you will like it.
So, but, Jaquaylin Crawford, that was the first acknowledgement that he'd switch positions publicly by Lincoln Riley.
Which meant Ty DeArmond had to change his jersey.
Yeah, they had to do all kinds of jersey switches
Yep.
in the game. It was weird. And they had to keep announcing. I did like how, that whoever the head referee was for the AAC, you couldn't understand him in the press box. But did you see the thing that Toby Rowland did on the broadcast? It was pretty good.
The 1930s reporter.
Yeah,
I saw
he goes,
that this morning.
Extra.
Yeah, that was pretty good. What was it? What was in reference to? I didn't
Because
catch
he
that.
sounded like he was trying to sell papers out of
Oh,
the street
did he?
corner.
I didn't
yeah.
even. Okay, I didn't even notice it.
I mean, he
did
has
see
such
that,
a weird
though.
old-timey voice.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like Scoops Callahan old-timey. It was just weird. It was like World War II, radio reel from Tokyo. I mean, it was like the, the matinee session and the movie news that they would have.
He should do every fourth quarter of blowouts with that voice.
So kudos to you, Toby Rowland. That was pretty good stuff. And I promise,
love it,
I will start taking headphones to the game. I've made that promise before. He called me out because I didn't listen to the radio broadcast.
He say something that you were supposed to catch on, and
I don't know.
You just completely didn't.
Yeah, probably. He probably dropped something in there.
I would take headphones if I could get reception down there on the field. But I guess you can't you? Isn't there a thing that you can?
Yeah,
tune
there's
into?
an in-stadium transmitter.
Because the Wi-Fi still sucks unless I just have no idea what I was doing.
I had mixed reports on that. I mean, a lot of people said it was
fine. Some people did it. Some people said it was
Some
great.
people said it was great.
I think it was maybe how close you were to paying good money for your seats.
The closer you are to like the field or whatever. Well, I mean, I was on the field, so I guess that wouldn't be it. Closer to the donor sections is like better vibes, or
that's where most of the
better frequency.
Points, they like spread out the access point to where it reaches more people near the club section.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, I would, if I were paying extra for seats, I would hope that was the case. Keep the pores off my Wi-Fi.
That's true.
Okay, so outside of that, offensively, I mean, Jalen Hurts, belle of the ball. You couldn't turn on ESPN on Monday. Like you said, I think Josh brought this up. I think there's one mock draft that had him the third pick taken.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, in the draft, like, it is such overreaction.
That might be a little
knee-jerk,
hot take central.
Lava take.
Listen, he was good, but I agree with Josh. I mean, I need to see him make a 3rd and 13 in the Cotton Bowl with your, backed up in the Texas end zone for me to say, okay, this guy can go win a national championship.
Really? I mean,
and that's unfair.
I'm not being a jerk here, but essentially he made one throw down the field that he had to make to CeeDee Lamb.
That's it.
Yeah, and he missed one to CeeDee Lamb as well.
He tried some back shoulders, the one to Nick Basquin that was incomplete, which wasn't a poor throw.
Well, you had the one where he turned Lamb around and interference.
Oh, that one was bad.
That wasn't
that was
interference.
his only real bad.
Yeah, that was a
It was
bad
Lamb having to fight through a defensive back to get to a ball that was really poorly thrown. But I don't know. I mean, Josh, you brought that up. I mean, was there, outside of the Lamb touchdown throw, was there one throw where you were just kind of like, oh, okay, I see you, Jalen Hurts?
And he had some nice throws, but they were all very, like, the timing was good, that kind of thing. But they weren't big league throws. Like, you'd see a couple from Kyler and Baker over the last few years where they just kind of wow you with one throw or another during the game. But, to be fair, he wasn't playing a great defense. There wasn't a lot of tight coverage. He was making the throws he had to make. He didn't do anything wrong. I don't want this to come off as a knock on him because that's not what I'm saying. It's just there are things that haven't been answered yet. You just don't know. Because, like I said, that Eddie put up that stat where his throws outside the hashes, it was a marked difference both in number and the success rate. Like, it was very, very different when he had to get wide and throw some outs and some stuff that was outside. So, and like I said, I get why Oklahoma did what they did. They were probably just trying to get him comfortable, letting him run through the offense and kind of figuring out what the offense is going to be. So, like I said, that's all okay. What I will say, and I'm like I said, kind of working on the idiot for this week. For the listeners that don't know, I go back each week and kind of review the game. Some weeks it's a little more in depth than others, but always go back and just try to find things that I think are interesting as I go back through the game. The one that I think is incredibly cool is they've got him doing this draw read where he's it's a run pass, or at least it looks like it. I don't know if it's an actual read or not, but they've got this read action, and as Trey Sermon goes across his face, he keeps the ball and he's watching Jadon Haselwood go from the outside across the middle of the field on a drag route, like 5-yard drag, no big deal. Marquise Hayes is clearly reading him, and as soon as Haselwood goes across his face, he gets upfield. And he becomes basically a lead blocker for Jalen Hurts because it's second that Haselwood does it. Jalen Hurts is doing the same thing. He's getting north and south. Now, the play that I saw didn't result in a lot, but I think there was one later in the game that did end up being a big play. So, like I said, I think some of that stuff is just really cool in the way that Lincoln Riley is kind of creating ways for Oklahoma to still do the things they've done, but put some wrinkles in it that make sense for Jalen Hurts.
I don't hand out compliments to ESPN very often, but I think Dan Orlovsky, I think he broke some of those plays down.
The play that did work that Josh is talking about, yeah, he broke that one down.
Pretty cool stuff. I think he does a really good job.
The thing about Lincoln that always impresses me is, like, he gets into the mind of a defense. Like, if you just drew that stuff up on a sandlot, you're thinking, well, you don't have enough time to do all that crap. Like the misdirection and like the play that Orlovsky broke down, it was like a option counter. I mean, it was so bizarre. Like, he did the deal where Trey Sermon, whoever it was, crossed his face. It might have been a jet sweep. I can't remember. So the direction flows left, and then you still have a tailback. So it might have been Jeremiah Hall, but I'd have to go back and look at it. And then it looks like he's running the option to the right. And he literally takes 2 steps as an option quarterback, plants, and then changes direction again and goes back. And they have flooded the right side of the field with receivers going deep. And so he runs that option to the right side, plants, comes back to his left, and there's nobody there. I think that was his real big run of the game.
I wonder how much of that stuff with, working with offensive linemen, reading linebackers and safeties and stuff like that. I wonder how much that's Bill Beatenbow.
A lot of it is
his influence as far as we can do this, we can do that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff in the run game is Bill Beatenbow coming up with a lot of that stuff. And I mean, like the counters and the way they pull offensive linemen, like that's all Bill.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Those two are. Obviously Lincoln Riley's the defense coordinator is going to get a lot of the credit, but I think those two together have been just about as good of a marriage as it's
been amazing. Okay, so one thing that comes out of this is all the hype and the Heisman talk now, and in Vegas, in one sports book now, Jalen Hurts is right there with Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa. I can never say his name unless I'm looking at it.
Crushed it.
As equals, as favorites, all to win the Heisman Trophy, which is, it's ridiculous after one game to think that things change that much, but that's the way it works. And as we said before, Vegas is there to take bets, not to predict a winner all the time. So all this stuff is happening, and Lincoln was asked about kind of how he handles it with Jalen Hurts. And we know, like in the post-game interview, everybody was like, why won't he just smile and enjoy it and say it was a good victory and he played great and he's really happy? And he even used the rat poison line in his own press conference that Nick Saban made famous last year. And here's Lincoln talking about kind of Jalen's personality, how he handles all this hype with him.
As far as the individual guys, I mean, I think it depends on the individual player. They all handled that stuff a little bit differently, I think Jalen handles it probably a little bit more like Kyler did. He doesn't really care, I don't know that he probably even knows. I don't think it bothers him, and he's probably even more than the other two. Not probably, definitely. He's had a lot more of that to deal with, in his career up to this point. So I think he could absolutely care less about any of that. He's focused on one thing right now, which is where his mind needs to be.
And I mean, it's just that week. I mean, you're playing South Dakota. If you're talking about a letdown week, and you just beat Houston, everybody in the world is talking about how you've legitimized yourself. You're thinking of yourself right there with Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State and whoever.
On Jalen Hurts, I have a conspiracy and then a question.
I'm curious about this.
Well, the conspiracy is kind of out there. I don't think it's anything new. But supposedly, I haven't gone back and watched the game. I plan to do it maybe this afternoon. But no, his dad was interviewed during it by Holly Rowe. Josh, did you happen to catch that?
I did, yeah.
Was it as awkward as people have made it out to be?
She just let it go too long. Like, they clearly were trying to fill airtime, and you could tell he wasn't invested in the conversation. And
right. He's trying to watch the game.
Yeah, and he wasn't rude or anything like that. It was just kind of like, okay, yeah, Jalen has done this, and we feel like that. He was just very textbook answers, and she gave him the length of time like she was interviewing Baker Mayfield, like he was giving her great stuff. And you're like, at some point, you're like, okay, this isn't really working. Let's just cut away from this.
It's run its course.
This isn't the Women's College World Series. This is real football.
You're not talking to.
Can you think of one softball player's name, please?
No, I mean, I was going to think of somebody other than off the OU team. Not talking to Michelle Rodriguez's mother. I just made that name up. All right, back to my conspiracy before I get myself in trouble. I think the more you listen to Jalen Hurts, and he would never come out and say this. I don't even think his dad would come out and say it, but I kind of think it's along the same lines of thinking that they are basically have made this year into Nick Saban took the ball out of my son's hands or took the ball out of my hands. I'm going to prove to the world that I can throw the football. Is basically what this whole transfer boils down to.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
I think that's not. I'm not uncovering anything brand new, but just the more you listen to him talk, the more you listen to even the things that supposedly his dad said, it seems like they were a little not pissed off, but like you remember the big story going into last year was Hurts finally came out and said, I didn't hear anything all summer from Saban, and then everything that went into that. It's just, I don't know. It seems very, basically what I'm saying is it's even more credence to what I think is the Jalen Hurts f*** you tour.
And they burned his red shirt for no good reason.
Sure. Like
they didn't
I
have
think
to.
as much as he appreciates and loves his time at Alabama, and I don't think he has any ill will towards Alabama at all. But I think there's this little part of him that wants to be like, I want to show you what you basically.
Well, he wants to prove that. I mean, it's kind of like.
But I don't fault Saban either, because I would have played Tua as well.
It's like when you work for a company and you've worked there forever, and you get passed over for a promotion for some young hotshot, like.
Yeah, you want to show them that they made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Any athlete would want to do that.
Sure.
So I don't think it's just this Jalen Hurts thing. I mean, as much as it's very common for this to happen.
That's just human nature. I don't care what athlete or not. Yeah.
So I'm basically just saying what everybody knows.
Yeah, it's not a big conspiracy theory.
Okay. No conspiracy
But I mean,
there.
you look at
but
his
more
numbers.
and more that we hear him is what is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. Is,
Here's the question: at any point will Jalen Hurts? And I don't think he will, but would he come out and say anything like, kind of a F you?
No, it won't happen until.
Like if he
no.
Unless
I think he's
Oklahoma
just
beat
wired
Alabama in the national championship game, that's probably the only chance he would have.
That's the only chance.
And even then, I don't know if he would, because I think he is. You can. I mean, it's obvious again, but he's just wired differently than just about everybody else as far as the way that he handles himself. And in a way, I think it's kind of intriguing and fascinating that somebody in 2019 can operate the way he does.
They call him an old soul, Eddie.
No, I
I don't know how
completely
you feel
agree.
about that.
I don't think he's an olds, but he's definitely an old soul for sure. I don't
I'd
know.
love to have a discussion.
We might have to go into the. Might have to go into the lab and look at this one closer.
I would love to have a discussion with him about what he thinks about current 7-on-7 culture.
I don't know.
His dad's a coach.
Yeah. I think he definitely gets it. I mean, he played 7-on-7.
We might need to let Josh have that conversation with him.
Yes, that's all we need is me screaming at him if he disagrees with me. Damn it, you're wrong, Jalen.
But if he agrees with you, oh boy, that's a bromance that could live forever.
That would seriously, some beauty could come out of that, because the previous two, as much as I like them, those are 7-on-7 guys all day, every day.
Oh yeah.
Baker's from Lake Travis. They host a state qualifying tournament almost every year.
Hell, if Kyler was coming out now in this day and age, holy crap. It would literally be the Kyler Murray 7-on-7 All-Star national traveling team.
Oh my gosh.
Because OU wasn't as involved
Kevin would
in
probably he'd probably turn it into a head coaching job somewhere.
Who would?
His dad.
Yeah.
because OU wasn't as involved in his recruiting, I still don't think most OU fans understand what a big deal Kyler is in the state of Texas. Like, people that really know it think he's probably the greatest football player ever in the state of Texas.
Yeah, I mean, you think about
high school player.
Incredible.
I'll say this: if you are older and just kind of lost touch a little bit, like think of, I'm trying to think of who would be like the most famous wishbone quarterback. I mean, Jack Mildren, obviously.
I think Jack Mildren might be that guy. Who?
But that's even older than I was thinking. I was thinking more like, I mean, like Jamel Holloway,
Turner Gill.
Turner Gill, yeah. Who's the kid after Salinesi at Colorado?
Oh, Darian Hagan.
Darian Hagan, yeah.
Yep.
I think he was from Banning High School too, same place as Jamel.
Yep.
I'll take Tommy Frazier.
Well, Tommy Frazier, that's another era, but still.
Yep.
It's like 2 years after the Colorado.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Well, I'm saying different era from Jamel Holloway.
Yeah. Hagan kind of bridges the gap. But yeah, no, like I said, he is. Like, because I mean, when other coaches that I know coaches that like can't give anybody credit, and they'll be like, that dude was good. Like, that dude was just something different. Like, I mean, and what he did in the playoffs his junior and senior year was just incredible. Like, they were beaten at least 4 times, and he just drug them out of nowhere. And I mean, and it's crazy to say that because it's Allen, and they were so good, and they were so talented, and they still are, of course. But I mean, they were a 13-1 team with him. They were 15-0 and borderline national champions with him. I mean, he was just that little difference.
Darren Hagan was a Heisman Trophy finalist in 1989.
Was he really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Bob, you condescending ass.
What? It's like 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, 5's a lot different than 2.
You did say 2, Bob.
All right, whatever.
Bob's been very quiet this pod, and that response right there. I think
like
Bob
legitimately pissed right now. He is legitimately. He's not happy.
Might be a fight.
Like, that's the most pissed I've ever seen Bob. He does not like being wrong on stuff.
Throw something, Bob. Throw it. I mean, throw it at Carey. Like, obviously.
Notice if he did
throw something
anything
in here. It's either going to break something or hit somebody.
Yeah, just don't pick up anything really expensive. There's a little battery right there. You can throw that. Anyway, man, that was fun. Get to see pissed off Bob. I'd never seen that before.
Olds Remembering Wishbone Quarterbacks has been brought to you by.
It's not Olds. That's history.
Ben Gay.
I didn't say that Darian Hagan would have been a better quarterback than any of these youngsters today. No, we were talking about Kyler Murray. And I mean, I think the thing about this is, though, I mean, like with Jalen Hurts, all this stuff, there's so many games. And by the way, this weekend, my God.
What do you get out of playing this weekend?
You go from an opening weekend that wasn't great, but it's the same thing. Like Oklahoma State's playing McNeese.
Bad state in state.
Oh, my God.
I mean, a bad weekend in state.
You go from such an exciting opening weekend, both at Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, to this.
I was posed this question, and it kind of made me think. At first, I thought this is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. Do you think we ever get to a time when a team plays FCS opponent and they just say, we're resting the starters this week? Serious question. Like, what? The only bad outcome that can come from this weekend is Jalen Hurts go out and tears his ACL in the first play of the game. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen.
God, that's like the worst thing that's been said on the podcast today.
I banged on wood.
Was that a knock on wood?
Knock on wood if you're with me.
Yeah, knock if you're with me.
So now you're advocating a torn ACL.
No.
You're with
I'm saying that's the worst thing that could happen. Do you think there will ever be a time where a Division I program says, we got South Dakota coming in, this list of players isn't playing today?
By the way, just quick side note, I know someone in the media who is offended because John Gruden used knock on wood incorrectly.
Why?
Really?
Yeah.
Why would
just
they
felt
be?
like it was disrespectful to the, I don't know, what do you call that? It's not an acronym.
The language?
Like
No, that's insane to me.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be offended, like he's using knockout. No, he just, anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
It's just a way they can express themselves without talking. It's just an easy,
I know. It's stupid.
we're all together kind of thing.
No, but I mean, Jalen Hurts hurting himself. Yeah, that would be all. Or, I mean, it's not even Jalen Hurts. Like, you lose your backup. You lose, like, your backup center or something. I mean, that's awful.
Yeah.
Against this competition.
Any type of injury is just terrible because it's a game that, for all intents and purposes, shouldn't be played. They should not be playing an FCS opponent.
Well, to be fair, this is the 4th
and
FCS team that Joe Castiglione has ever scheduled. So he doesn't like doing this. It just became a necessity.
Sure.
But at the same time, we always talk about things that are broken right in front of our eyes that could be fixed. College football scheduling is one of the most broken things in sports, and we never talk about it. I mean, to have to schedule Clemson for 2035, that's the dumbest thing. Like, form a damn committee. Get ESPN and Fox and other people involved. Start making some games that make some damn sense.
How awesome was Auburn and Oregon on Saturday night?
It was awesome. But once again, that's not even on campus. Like,
yeah,
the shit games that people have to buy season tickets for now, when you have so many other options, even watching it on television is a great option.
Yeah, and OU's for the most part has done that, and I applaud Florida State for bringing Boise State in.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure that,
but that
looking
was
back on it, they would have loved to have played Florida A&M.
Yeah, but again, that was supposed to be in Jacksonville.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then the hurricane that was 700 miles away interrupted it. So, that makes total sense.
2 words, big wind.
But, I mean, I don't, they've got to do, with attendance declining like it is, and I don't care if you want to make a Power 5 only plays Power 5 thing, you've got to do something. You've got to eliminate these crap games.
Well, I mean, they're not going to do it because people lose money out of it, but they should go away from the neutral site game.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's a recruiting thing. I mean, that Jerry has done a good job of attracting teams down there that want to recruit this part of the country.
And you also have to think about, what does it do to the other schools? Like, yeah, sure, the NCAA's focus is going to be the OUs and the Texases and all that, but some of these schools are almost completely reliant on these $1 million paydays.
If you can't survive as a program because you get paid $1 million to go get your ass kicked every week for 4 weeks, you shouldn't be surviving as a football player. I mean, it's charity.
No, I don't think you're wrong, but the NCAA, if you're going to claim like we're about student athletes, well, they're giving a bunch of guys scholarships. Those scholarships will go away if McNeese State can't field a football team.
I'm fine with McNeese State not fielding a football team.
Oh, boy. We're going to get a phone call from the McNeese State Alumni Association.
I'm fine with South Dakota not being able to field. I mean, they're FCS. They're not
mass
even in this
shootings
division.
is one thing. You don't mess with McNeese State, buddy.
And let's get rid of Title IX while we're at it.
Wow.
That was an add-on.
Well, let's make sure it's at Carey _.
Not like the rape. I'm not saying let people rape people. I'm saying Title IX has nothing to do. I mean, it encompasses that. But
you're telling me
Title IX is scholarship thing.
Won't be covering women's soccer anytime soon.
Boy, I am just turning off my input. This is bad.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't care if you can't survive without taking $1 million paydays where you get your ass kicked. You shouldn't survive.
I know you don't care. I'm saying the NCAA is going to have reason to care.
What do you think about the idea of bringing schools like that in during the preseason, and you have controlled scrimmages at OU or Texas or OSU?
Yeah, I'm fine if you want McNeese State to come in and do a spring game scrimmage or something.
Yeah, and if
a preseason, preseason schedule, because we all know, like, NFL fans get screwed with preseason games, but I think college football fans would love preseason games. Like,
I think it'd be awesome.
They're already used to going to intra-squad scrimmages that suck.
Well, you get your freshmen more than enough snaps to decide if you want to play him.
Yeah.
To see what they can actually do in a game. You wouldn't have to pay him like $800,000 like OU paid or is paying South Dakota. You would give him $300,000.
Yeah.
Can't take credit for it. I heard it on a national show, but I thought, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
No, but I'm with you. What started this whole thing, I don't think we ever actually answered, Eddie. I think you're exactly right. At some point, they are going to not play guys, the elite players. Like Kenneth Murray is going to sit out this week. Ronnie Perkins is going to especially in this situation that OU's in. Jalen Hurts needs to play. He needs all the reps he can get. Like, you get all that.
But you could sit you could get away with sitting CeeDee Lamb.
Exactly. Or say this is Baker Mayfield in his third year. Baker Mayfield knows the offense. He does not need to play against South Dakota. You can let him have that break. I think it makes a lot of sense because it's not worth the risk.
But you know
could
what?
Start their entire second team and they'd still win this game by 3 touchdowns.
You know what though? I mean, Tua would not be able to sit out a game chasing the Heisman. Trevor Lawrence wouldn't want to sit out a game chasing the Heisman.
But if everybody did.
I mean, CeeDee Lamb wants to set the single-season receiving yards record. He wouldn't want to sit out a game.
Well, it'd be tough because it'd kind of go back to what Riley said on Tuesday, just as far as this isn't like college baseball where you get 60 games.
Yeah, you only get 12.
College basketball where you get 43 or 40. You get 12 games, and you get basically, whether how good your team is, you can probably break that down into 8 games with as many times as you sit out at half or come out in the fourth quarter or whatever in a blowout. So I understand both sides of it, but I definitely think that we're going to be at a point where, maybe it's not everybody, but, certainly a guy like Kenneth Mann probably won't play this weekend. Doesn't need to. You wouldn't want to bring him back unless you want to get him some reps before you go to UCLA.
Well, I think they just go in knowing that they're going to kick these guys' ass. Everybody's going to have a limited amount of playing time, and then they'll get rest. Once they're up by 40 or 50, everybody gets off the field.
I know we talked about it this morning, Bob, but I think you said that this is a big weekend for Tanner Mordecai.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, who's going to get more snaps, Tanner Mordecai or Spencer Rattler, and what's Mordecai going to do with them? I think that's a great chance for him to solidify himself as the number 2 quarterback. I think he's going to see – I don't know if he'll come in the second quarter. I mean, he could. I'm not sure how they're going to play things and how the score
I would think almost no matter what, Jalen Hurts will play the first half.
I guess it just depends how many
Unless
snaps
defense
they
gets
get.
I mean, that's the danger here. Defense didn't get any turnovers. They're going to be pissed off. If you get 3 defensive scores in the first half, sorry, Jalen, but your day's over.
But yeah, if you think Rattler's kind of creeping up on Tanner, this will be his chance to show in whatever setting you want to describe will be Saturday night. At least he'll have a chance to show what he can do.
Let me ask you this: is it weird that not weird, but isn't it? Do you find it interesting that we had so much debate about young guys that Jadon Haselwood is clearly the guy that came out on top of all these young receivers?
Yeah, and if they were all healthy throughout the entire way, and Jadon's better, yeah. And I don't know if Theo was ever banged up or if Trajan was ever banged up, but yeah, I mean Theo Weiss played the last series complete mop-up duty time, and Trajan Bridges was a receiver for a handful of plays, played more on special teams than anything else. It was Haselwood who made the biggest impact, and I would expect it to be the same Saturday.
Do you think because we were so regionally connected
Yes,
almost to
absolutely.
Theo and Trajan, didn't give enough credit? I mean,
We saw more of them.
Jadon Haselwood, he's a top 5 player in the country.
Yeah.
The guys, when I was on the sidelines, when he made that catch in the Army game and it was right dead in front of me, it was very much he's even better than I thought he was. That play was special. And I was more surprised that Theo seems to be so far behind the other two.
That's why I'm wondering if he was banged up and we just never knew it.
Yeah. I just think physically he is slower. He's further behind those guys. Like Trajan Bridges, I mean, we first saw him in the spring. We were kind of like, whoa. Like he's more physical than these other guys. Now, I think you look at Jadon now, and he's bulked up a little bit. And I think Jadon has some natural strength, too, that the other guys don't have. And obviously his just athletic ability is greater than we thought. But Theo just seems like a guy that he seems like a freshman, like a guy that just he needs some time.
I think it probably also just came to him so easy, and in a way because he went I guess this might be wrong, but because he went to Allen, it just came so easy to him. Maybe you have to develop a little bit more dog, for lack of better terms, in him. I don't know. I don't know if that's right or not. It's
just the theory.
I know what you're saying.
Completely projecting.
I mean, there's he's never walked onto a campus and really had to compete. He was always the most talented guy, and that was going to be fine. And even at a place like Allen, he stood out.
Yes.
So I know what you mean. Like I said, I think Theo is one of those guys where Trajan is so slippery and smooth, and it all just looks so easy for him most of the time. Jadon's so big in his lower body, so powerfully built for a young receiver. And then Theo, you think, and I always talk about this when I'm talking about recruits, what's that trait of his that you're like, that makes him special? I think Theo's one of those guys that's really good at everything, but there's not one thing that you'd say, you know what, if he walked out on any field, he could win with that right now. And
I would say Theo, he does have elite ball skills. When the ball's in the air and someone needs to go get it, he is really good at that.
That's true. But like I said, that's what, jump ball scenarios? Those just don't come along very often. So
you don't usually run go out and I'll throw it to you offense.
Exactly. And the other thing is with Theo kind of seeming behind, and Bob brought it up, I think it's kind of telling that he came on late in that game. I've got to feel he's earmarked to be a red shirt. Because why would you, if you weren't pretty sure, why would you use one of his 4 games there?
Yeah.
Mop-up duty, he could run anybody out.
Just not being on special teams is your first clue.
Yep, that's true.
But I don't know. You got to be so careful. Him being a 5-star coming in with the other 5 stars, that's
You've got
a
lot
sensitive
of
situation.
Trust the process already being tweeted among this 2019 class.
Yep.
That's kind of their fault, though, isn't it?
Speaking of that group, though, the
Isn't
guy
that their
I
fault?
really liked
is
what their fault.
Setting themselves up to think that they're just going to come in and just automatically be on the field.
Do you know any recruit that says, I can't wait to go to that school for my next 5 years of my life?
100% agree. But
do you know the guys that say that? Offensive linemen.
No, that's
guys
true.
in the damn team.
And I talked to Beat 'em Bo yesterday. He wants to play Stacey Wilkins. He wants to play EJ Ndoma Ogar, Marcus Alexander.
Nice.
But it's gonna. I think they were 1 touchdown away from getting in that game on Sunday night. Is basically what it boils down to.
They were 1 touchdown up 42-17 from getting into that game.
Accurate.
Yep. I saw a picture of Stacey on the sideline. He looks like he's put on some good weight.
I'm
bad.
putting together a thread on the board of basically shots of all new guys. So if people want to check that out, you were right though. Stacey Wilkins is a mountain of a person. He makes.
And we've made it very clear it's hard to stand out as a large man among this offensive line.
Yes, and he stands out.
Just don't stand next to Bray Walker.
They're just all such big guys.
Yeah.
It almost kind of
Simpson.
makes you laugh in a way, remembering that Gabe was a tight end coming out of high school, and
hear that, Gabe?
Well, no, I'm just saying he would agree.
Eddie's laughing at you, Gabe.
Even Gabe now, he's skinny. He's out of the Fat Boy Club.
Yeah, he got out of it really fast.
It's a disrespect when he even claims that he is. He might be a fat boy at heart, though.
Oh, you've seen his Instagram food pictures.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling him he needs to delete them. It's
that dude has to eat 20,000 calories a day still.
Say counting calories. That's for skinny people.
So yeah, outside of that, Marcus Major had a little hamstring thing. I was excited to kind of get to see him. I would imagine we'll see him against South Dakota as long as he's healthy and ready to go.
If not, you're still down to 3 running backs, and you don't want to do that too often.
Do we
If
think
you guys were going to guess, would you say Kennedy Brooks and Trey Sermon have more carries, or Major and Stevenson?
I think the qualifier would be, is Major going to suit out?
Yeah, okay. Let's assume Major's healthy.
I would say I would go with Stevenson and Major.
You know what? I'm going to say Brooks because Brooks needs some work.
But it's Brooks and Sermon. So you think he's going to get 20 carries?
Brooks would get enough carries to carry he and Sermon over the
Brooks
other
just
two.
had 4.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got to get out there.
I mean, they are easing him back. Like he is. It's clear he's not quite in football shape yet. Like South Dakota could be the game to really help him get over that hump.
Everybody wants to talk about Jalen Hurts, and rightfully so. But I think we talked about it on the postgame pod. I thought Trey Sermon looked incredible.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you guys brought that up because he looks. And I remembered it was some interview, and I can't remember which one of you was conducting it, but you were talking to Jay Boulware, and he was talking about he'd lost a little weight and everything looked better. Boy, it showed. I mean, he looked much quicker and just twitchier, and that first run, I thought for a second he was actually going to pop that.
Oh, I did too. I mean, everything about him he almost looks like a little bit of a new runner, like he's kind of changed his style.
He does that thing where he sticks his foot in the ground and gets a guy lean and
it was the jump cuts that Boulware was talking about, wasn't it, Josh?
Yeah, I believe you're right, and that is an elite trait of his. He is really good at those jump cuts.
And I didn't notice him being overly patient. Like it seems like he's kind of got that under control a little bit. And maybe it was just because the stuff they were asking him to do, kind of some tosses and stuff like that. More so, but yeah, I mean, he was headed towards a really big day, but then Jalen Hurts just kind of stole the show. I mean, stole the football.
That's what I keep
from
saying.
Everybody.
That Hurts is going to take a lot of touchdowns away from Sermon and Brooks.
Yeah, he is.
I mentioned it to him yesterday. He kind of laughed about it.
Until Hurts gets like a sore rib or something.
When
you should
what's that?
You should ask Trey like every 3 weeks and like chronicle his responses as the season goes on. Like at the first week, like, oh yeah, it's funny. And then like week 10, he's got 3 touchdowns. He's like,
Trey, a report said that you lost $2,000 last week when he scored 3 times inside the 5. You know what this reminds me of, Trey? You ever heard of Booby Miles? You're not getting the ball, man.
Hey, Trey, did you know that Jeremiah Hall is setting a new pace for touchdowns by a fullback as well?
We thought that the greatest bet of all time, which I don't think would have been the greatest bet of all time, was OU Alabama last year if we would have put the company money on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We could all retire if we would have taken Jeremiah Hall and the props.
First touchdown.
The first touchdown
He
of the
almost
year.
had the first 2 touchdowns of the year. If he hadn't fallen down, or if Hurts had thrown the ball a little bit better, one of the two.
I mean, that was the most surprising
Tony's
thing
listening.
of all time. Oh, no, she turned it off after I disparaged her earlier, Josh.
She just fast forwards when you or I talk.
That's fine.
She loves Bob and Josh.
She went after me pretty good on Twitter. She was
Oh,
not
did
happy
she?
with me.
What'd you do?
It was a couple weeks ago. It was like the first time
I don't think
came
it takes
up.
much.
No. And I mean, because I was the one that responded to her when she was like, Alabama fans can afford T-shirts or something. And I was like, no, we're not talking to you. Let it go.
Anyway. Okay, so recruiting-wise, 3 eyeball emojis. 1 has been revealed. Josh, would you like to fill everybody in on what's happening there?
Yeah. I don't know how far we've all gone as far as, kind of on the board. I haven't read, everything Bob has put up so far. But I know, for the clarity, excuse me, of course I get something in my throat. Anton Harrison
It's in your
has... Wow. Maybe hair from all I shaved off. I don't know. Yeah. Anton Harrison was the first eyes from Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon.
Not the first to be revealed, but the first that committed to Lincoln.
Yes. Monday. I'm sorry. I
Monday.
said Sunday.
Yes.
Definitely Monday. It was Monday afternoon. That whole weekend has thrown me off. I posted Monday notes on Tuesday. It's been a bad week. But yeah, he was the first set of eyes, and I'm surprised because I know that he was expecting to take visits to Michigan and Penn State. He had a lot of other plans he was expecting to make, and when Adam Friedman, our Mid-Atlantic analyst, kind of contacted him last night, sent me the audio of their interview. It just sounded like he got there and was like, "This is perfect. Like, I don't want to wait around. I didn't want to, I think Oklahoma had let him know we've got 1, maybe 2 spots, man, and that's it. And if you're not on board, then there's a good chance you'll lose it." And I think he just said, this is not an opportunity I want to miss. So I want to be part of this class. And I went back and watched his tape. Like, I saw him with Eddie at the 5-Star Challenge, and I liked him. He didn't jump out to me as a dominant guy, but I thought, okay, it's a good player. Going back and watching his tape, that's a potentially very good find for Bill Bedenbaugh. I mean, not only is he 6'5", 330, but he is really light on his feet. Like, I almost wonder if he's one of those guys that's 6'5" and his shoes are like a size 10 or something. Like, he moves around really easily on his feet for a guy that size. So I kind of, like I said, I just came away more impressed with his athleticism than I had remembered being in Atlanta. So now you move into the second set of eyes. I said it on the board. Oklahoma's continuing to get bigger. It's going to be, Lincoln Riley said it well, it's a big day and kind of capitalizing the big. There's more size coming. Number 3, again, you have to be so careful of what you say here, but again, it's Oklahoma landing a guy at a need position that they've been targeting for a while, and I expect all 3 of these to probably be public by maybe this time next week. I know there's some graphics being made. I know in one case there's a video going through, so anytime a video comes up, God knows how long it could take. But I don't think this is a deal like the Jonah Monheim situation where 2 months later we're all still, kind of dangling the cheese in front of fans trying to say, hey, it's coming, it's coming. I think these will happen pretty fast.
I have a question, and this is someone out there, you want to make like a really good Twitter account? Here's the idea for you. What is the most successful college player that ever had a commitment reveal video? Because I can remember a lot of flameouts, but I can't remember a whole lot of successes.
Well, Adrian Ely had one, so he's hoping you're not.
His was with Bleacher Report, right?
Yes,
It
it was.
With national company, not like a yokel.
Yeah.
Bleacher Report, they had I remember it was they did it like it was Goodfellas, took him to a
Reservoir
back
Dogs.
alley and everything. Or was it Reservoir Dogs?
Reservoir Dogs.
Yep. And they would do themes like that were kind of, whether you thought it was hokey or not, like it was.
They had
kind of
the one
fun.
Notre Dame kid that pulled the bus to reveal
Who's now
Notre
at
Dame.
Central Florida.
Oh, so there's
What was that guy's name?
Parker Boudreaux.
Boudreaux. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
He looked like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
JR just needs to contact him and get it over with. That guy's destined to be in the WWE at some point.
The thing about Ely, because I talked to him right after it, he had no clue what that movie was.
No way.
Yes,
Seriously?
he had they suggested it to him. Like, yeah, all right, sure. No clue.
So he had no idea how cool or not cool it was.
Correct.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow. But yeah, that's always kind of. R.J. Henderson did one.
I always he needs to do one for his announcement wherever the Jacksonville State. Now?
Jacksonville State.
I always think it's the crazy person is the person that actually watches it. Everybody just goes right to the end. Right?
Yeah, that's all you do. That's all I ever do.
I would just be putting editing that
once-
together and thinking, God, everybody's just going to fast forward to the 30-second moment.
Yes.
You can put whatever you want in between.
Well,
Get your
who
After
really wants to
Effects
watch
out.
guys working out?
I'm gonna sit here and watch this After Effects tutorial and come up with this really cool special effect. No, nobody cares.
We
They just
will
fast
have a
forward to the end.
candidate. Spencer Rattler had one done by an Arizona team.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So if he
could be the best
he
to ever have it done.
materializes.
Did Tate Martell
sure-
have one? Justin Fields?
See, we're kind of they kind of in vogue 2016 and on, but they weren't.
Yep.
you don't know who took advantage of it the most.
I think now there's definitely some guys that we just don't remember because we didn't really cover them that much. So I mean, there's going to be dudes that I'm sure are good players.
But like Delarian Turner-Yell just let us do a video, an interview video with him to announce his commitment. And I got to tell you, I can tell you why those things are always late. Eddie says it's easier now, but like to get a video onto a kid's phone so he can post it on Twitter is like one of the most mind-numbing afternoons you will ever spend.
It's not the greatest news when a kid hits me up. It's like, hey, can you send me my highlights that you got from the game last weekend? Yeah. Because like I owe it to him. Like I'm not going to say no, but I'm like, God, like I know where it's going to go. We've done it enough times now that I'm like, this is not going to be fun. I don't want to do this.
A couple shots are fine. Putting together like a not even putting together, but sending electronically through a phone, unless you have a server or something. It's not nearly impossible because
you got to jump through so many hoops,
and the file sizes on those are just so big.
Yeah, nobody's really come up with an easy way to do that.
First world problems. I know what I'm going to be. Yeah,
Shark Tank.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you figure out a way to do that, you won't have to work very long.
How to send high school recruit videos to the recruits.
If you figure out how to do that, you will have VCs barking at your door, where you will spend years developing a product that never makes any money and eventually fails.
Cubes is buying, for sure.
Yeah.
I've never seen that show. I just know he's on it.
I love that show.
I love it. Yeah.
See, Bob and I can agree on something today. We're friends again.
We
finished the pod. Okay. No, he didn't.
Hagen ended 91. Frazier started 92. As the Big 8 freshman of the year.
You know how long he spent the entire pod just researching it in his phone because he was so mad.
I was like, I know.
I didn't give a shit. I just saw 89 Heisman finalists.
Yeah, but
and all I could think of was 95 was the last year. That's their last championship, right?
Yeah,
with the Frazier 95 and they beat Florida.
Yes.
Hagen was a Heisman finalist as a sophomore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That had to be a big
according
deal.
to Wikipedia.
Ah, interesting.
Wikipedia could be lying. I don't know.
Wikipedia, I probably put that in there just to piss Bob off.
You edited it, didn't you?
I don't have Wikipedia editing privileges.
Bob goes back and checks, and all of a sudden Darian Hagen graduated in 87. I told you, Bob.
He was there before Jamel Holloway. Oh, God. Okay, so the eyeball emojis come out of it, but I know you've got a whole news and notes section, Josh, that you've been tracking. Mm-hmm. What else is interesting that you've learned from this weekend that's not too premium?
You know, I think today our guy Chad Simmons talked to Phillip Webb, the Rivals 100 linebacker from Georgia that came in. Sounded really positive, and Phillips hit me up a couple times. We've talked a little bit, but he and Chad have a good relationship, so I kind of let him run that show. But I got the impression that Oklahoma, is involved there. Like I still think it's going to come down to Auburn and Alabama, and it'll probably be Auburn due to his connection to the university. But Oklahoma made a run at him this weekend. I think he really liked what he saw. I talked to him about him and a few of the other recruits. Really, I think really the defense felt different to them. This looks like something I would want to be part of. I would want to play in that group. And I thought it was more telling when I would talk to the defensive lineman about it. And kind of pivoting to another player, Trayvon Ribka is a guy came in, a Kentucky commitment, 4-star guy from Tennessee that committed about a month ago to Kentucky over his home state, Tennessee, and looking like a pretty good choice right now. But it was surprising to me when it happened anyway. Could it just, you wouldn't expect it to go that way. But when I talked to people coming into the weekend, I was told he's going to take the visit, but there is zero chance he's going to Oklahoma. Just none. Like it was just written off as that's not even possible.
It's a courtesy visit, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's just going to go take a trip. Like, he and Calvin Thibodeau have been involved for a long time. OU is one of his first major offers. So, I mean, there's a connection there. It made some sense. But I talked to some people after the visit, and I still haven't heard anyone say, oh, he's gonna flip. Like, it's gonna happen. He's gonna go to Oklahoma. But I had several people say, including a couple of recruits that were around him, that he loved it. Like, he really was having a great time. Everything went really well. They impressed him, his family. Like, everybody just enjoyed it. But the thing I got is it would always kind of end with, but I don't know that he'll go that far from home. And so I think that's probably what's going to end up being the roadblock for Oklahoma here. But they've given themselves a puncher's chance. He really liked the visit. It's just now he's probably never going to get to Oklahoma again. And Kentucky and Tennessee and some of the other SEC schools can kind of, I guess round the wagons and kind of, start to lock him back up again.
And that's why I asked Riley about how big of a gamble it was, and he mentioned the Buckeyes game. That's exactly what I was thinking about. And they brought in Marvin Wilson, Jeffrey Okudah, guys that you thought...
That seems so long ago.
Guys you thought they didn't have a chance unless they would have played well. And instead, they lost 45-24, and you knew the door had closed. In fact, the only two they got, the uncommitted recruits from that visit, were Ely and Jakare Daly. All the other top names that they brought in never looked at the Sooners once again, where this weekend... You look at Ripka, he's not the same player as Marvin Wilson. I'm not saying that.
Sure.
But it's the same situation where you think they don't stand a chance, but you're able to change his mind when you're actually on the visit.
Well, and, the good news is for Oklahoma that trip, Jeff Okudah's gone on to Ohio State and having a really nice career there.
Yeah, he's done absolutely nothing at this point, has he?
Oh, no, he's going to be like a
I watched Ohio State's game on the off week, and he was all over the TV screen.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
And they got him playing corner,
Marvin's
too.
coming along.
Like, we thought he was a safety, and he's playing corner for Ohio State.
Well, I mean, I remember talking to the staff at the time, and there was a very real Jalen Ramsey comparison. Like, we could put him at corner, we could put him at safety, we'll put him wherever. Like, he's just that good, it'll work itself out.
Well, I'm sure they're getting a lot of Jalen Ramsey at Texas Tech now.
Hey, and throwing salt on the wound or gas on the fire, Josh Proctor had a pick for Ohio State over the weekend.
Yeah.
Nice one too. And they're like, and it was Joel Klatt, and he's like, yeah, highly rated guy from state of Oklahoma. And I'm like, oh, I hope Oklahoma fans are watching this. They're just cussing at Joel Klatt. Right
yeah,
now.
let's face it, the triumvirate of Okudah, Proctor, and then Dax Hill. I mean, I don't know that there's ever been more of a knife to the heart.
When you combine it with what Will Sunderland did off the field, it just took away the entire position.
Those three and Trey Brown could be OU starting secondary right now. I mean,
we wouldn't need two of them. We wouldn't need two Trey Browns.
It's not I wouldn't call it likely, but it's not that far fetched. Josh Proctor probably should be at Oklahoma. Dax Hill's
probably the most far fetched. Yeah.
Yep. If Oklahoma could have beaten Ohio State, I think they changed that whole narrative with Okudah because he really wanted to like Oklahoma.
You needed a reason. You didn't give him one.
By the way, what's Browning doing in Ohio State? Anything?
I think
he's a starter.
He's a starter.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's been as dominant.
Yeah, I never saw his name called when I was watching or anything.
I only watched the first two series.
Which, I mean, if you want to talk about building a linebacker like that kid, I thought he was destined to be a star.
I did too. And I can tell you one member of our board I'm going to hear about it on the pod. Jaw will let me know because he told me over and over. He's like, we played this kid in district. He's not that good. And I'm like, he's absurdly talented. 6'3", could run. He was covering running backs all over the field. Like I thought Baron Browning, probably other than Okudah, was the safest pick in that group that year from Texas that was just ridiculously good.
So, Josh, looking ahead to this weekend, I'm blanking. You can help me out here. Who is the elite kid that's coming in?
Alfred Collins.
That's it. There you go.
Yeah. He'll be in this weekend for an official. As far as I know, he's the only one because this really wasn't, it was last weekend. That was supposed to be the big visit weekend. Why this is a big deal with Collins is he's leaving Austin on the weekend of the LSU-Texas game. So he doesn't get all that. He doesn't get inundated with all that craziness and all that. It's a great environment, and if Texas wins, he's not there to be swept up and all that. So that's good for Oklahoma, and obviously with it being South Dakota weekend, they can just pour attention onto him. They can love him up and make sure he and Mom feel as comfortable as they could ever want to. And Alfred is a guy that Texas is clearly the favorite. That's the most likely destination for him. But I do get the impression he is open to what others have to say. I don't think he's done. I don't think it's anything like that. I think something could happen. I think it's unlikely, but I do think Oklahoma can turn him around. I do think he's a guy that's big on relationships. So if Alex Grinch can connect with him and Lincoln Riley can, Lincoln talks to him already, but if they can further those relationships, maybe OU shocks the world with him.
Josh, you watched him in a scrimmage setting a few weeks ago. Where would he fit?
He's that 3 technique guy. He's going to play. He's going to slide inside. He could play some 4-eye if that's what you wanted to. Last year, I was like, man, I don't even know if he's a strong side end in Oklahoma's scheme. And I went and saw him this year. I bet he'd put on 25, 30 pounds. He just looked like a different guy. And they have him. What was funny is last year he was playing nose tackle for them at high school at like 250 pounds. And now he's like 275, 280. And they've moved him back out to end to kind of protect his knees and make sure he doesn't have any serious injuries or anything, which is, a pretty big league move by the high school staff there. But, I think Alfred Collins has maybe as much potential as any defensive lineman OU's involved with. Maybe excluding Tyler Barron, but in that same kind of vein, Alfred is every bit of 6'5" and some change, 280 pounds, runs really well. He's very twitchy. He's a good rusher at defensive end, but you move him inside and let him get upfield, he's dangerous. I mean, he could be one of those guys that even as a freshman, kind of like Stripling and Redmond and Perkins last year, that you kind of have trouble keeping him off the field.
All right. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? South Dakota coming up, pay-per-view. Don't be a poor. Don't gripe at Joe Castiglione on Twitter about how you don't want to pay for pay-per-view.
Josh, where are you going this week? Me and Eddie will see Brendan Walker in a real live game setting. McGinnis versus Del City Friday night.
And, of course, Del City's got a couple of interesting 2021 guys themselves. So
Tatum's little brother and that crew.
Donovan Stevens.
Yep. I mean, like I said, those guys with the way OU's doing things differently on defense, Stevens he's an interesting guy to me. Tatum, I don't know. We'll have to see what kind of bad blood exists there. I don't really know how that'll go. But for me, tomorrow night is still kind of in flux. I have sent contacts out to 2 different schools. I'm just kind of deciding. I can either go see Richmond Foster and Ruben Fatheree and Cody Jackson, and they're going to take on Fort Bend Travis, formerly of R.J. Henderson, the Fighting R.J. Hendersons. They have a wide receiver that's committed to Penn State and Parker Washington. A corner that I kind of like that I think would be a good, I can kind of get a good look at Cody Jackson there. And then on the other side is L.J. Johnson, the running back offer from Cypress, Texas, that I've never seen in person. And obviously I've seen Cody and Ruben several times. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet tomorrow. But obviously the highlight of my weekend is on Friday, I'm going to go to Atlanta and see Brock Vandegrift in a game for the first time. I've seen him in camp settings. I've seen him in some other stuff, but this is the first time I've actually seen him in a live game, and they're playing one of their bigger games this season against Wesleyan. And, like I said, I'm really anxious to see him in that setting because as good as he was as camp wore on at the 5-Star Challenge, I'm expecting him to look a lot more at home in this scenario because I think that suits his game better.
All right. Well, South Dakota coming up. If you don't want to pay for it, we will have a post-game podcast for you. Eskridge Lexus is back in town, or back on board to sponsor our post-game podcast. So we certainly appreciate them. We are now on Spotify. We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, any of those. Go and subscribe to the post-game. Just look up Oklahoma Sooners post-game, and it'll take you right to the Eskridge Lexus post-game podcast. But just like last weekend, we did one right after the game. It was up early hours of the morning, but when you get up on Sunday morning this time, you'll have a post-game podcast, our thoughts immediately after the game is over. So check that out. Also, if you're not a subscriber to this podcast, do so, and also leave some comments. Give us a rating. Rating and reviews, always a good little segment when we do it as well. So we appreciate everybody listening. We'll be back again next week, and we'll be back this weekend with the Eskridge Lexus post-game podcast. So until next time, thanks to Josh McQuistion, Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przbillo, and I'm Carey Murdoch, your host. We'll see you next week.